Welcome to the Private Practice Survival Guide podcast with your host, Brandon Seigel. I'm a published author, speaker, entrepreneur, and private practice strategist dedicated to transforming the way that healthcare functions. This podcast is all about empowering you to create the change you want to see. Let's dive in. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Private Practice Survival Guide podcast. In this episode, we're talking about the owner's weekly calendar reset ritual. These are quick tip episodes where I just want to kind of give you a quick punch on something that might change your trajectory this week. And so if your calendar is running you instead of the other way around, you are managing your practice instead of leading it. And so in this episode, we want to talk about how we optimize our calendar. Private practice owners often say they're overwhelmed. They complain, Brandon, oh my gosh, I can't keep up with things. Yesterday even, I had someone tell me that they had to miss a $2,000 program they invested in because they couldn't make time for it. How do we change and grow if we can't optimize the way our calendars and timing look? Meetings can fill every open space. Emails can dictate schedule. Fires appear throughout the week, and that pulls attention in every direction. But here's the deeper truth. If your calendar controls you, then your practice is operating in management mode, not leadership mode. Managers react what shows up. Leaders decide what matters before the week begins. Now, for those who didn't hear it, we will have an episode where I interview Erin Clemens, and she talks about how she calendars in advance of your week. I want to make sure you understand the powerful habit of preparing before we execute. So today we're discussing a powerful leadership habit, the owner's weekly calendar reset ritual, a structured process that literally takes 30 to 45 minutes once per week. But what if I told you this? 30 minutes this week, 30 will save you 4 hours this week. Stop reacting. Stop saying you don't have time. Make smarter decisions. Put boundaries in place. Because the more that we prioritize, the more that we can lead. And I want to be clear. I love the statement for you to say, I don't have time for this. But I want you to reiterate this component. When you say, I don't have time, it's that this is not a priority for my time. And that comes through to me when people are like, Brandon, can you meet this week? Sorry, I don't have time. That means right now I can't prioritize that. So let's shift the narrative. As I lead for the future, my time has value. I cannot prioritize this in my time Rubik's Cube this week. And maybe it's just not something I can prioritize at the moment because I have other things that are taking greater weight in the way that I perform function day to day. So the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. And that Stephen Covey actually said, and I'm going to say it one more time because I think it's so crucial in how we look at things. The key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. So here is some signs that your calendar is reactive. You know, many private practice owners start their business because they want autonomy and purpose. Ironically, success often creates the opposite outcome, a chaotic calendar. It's so funny, this idea that, oh my gosh, I want autonomy, I want more time. Brandon, I want a vacation in Tahiti 6 times a year, so I'm going to open your business. Just like when a therapist or a physician tells me I started my business to make money, I'm like, well, you could have made money a lot easier. So you may notice signs like the following when you have a chaotic calendar. Meetings scheduled without clear outcomes. Constant interruptions, strategic work constantly pushed to the next week, feeling busy but not advancing the practice. Peter Drucker says this, and I think it's something that I want you to write this down. So if you're listening to this podcast, please write this down, and I want you to look at it, and I want you to identify, is this true or not? And then I want you to identify, if it's true, How do I prioritize this statement? Time is the scarcest resource, and unless it's managed, nothing else can be managed. And I'm going to say it one more time. Time is the scarcest resource, and unless it's managed, nothing else can be managed. Don't be the effect. Be the cause. Create the time that really translates. And I had to do this in my own life. Very transparently, for many years, I used to be, before actually COVID, I was on the road 200 plus days out of the year, consulting, speaking. I wore this cloak of, oh my gosh, the world needs me and I'm out there and all that stuff. And that's all ego. Honestly, COVID gave me an opportunity to reclaim my priorities. But then I made myself busy again. And it took me looking at how I spent my time and what priorities look like. And no offense, but in many cases, I was prioritizing people, even people that never paid me $1. I prioritized them over my own people, my family. And one of the things that was really incredible was when my son became passionate about baseball, I had this opportunity for his passion to become my hobby. And I was able to prioritize and show myself that I actually could get all my work done and still leave at 3 o'clock most days to pick my son up from school and to bring him to baseball. Now, granted, I will be transparent. I'm an early bird. I get into the office early, all these things. But the time I spend is now dictated based on how I choose to spend my time versus how I need to spend my time. So choosing, prioritizing, what does that look like for you? Really, really important. And so one of the things I want you to do is I want you to reset your navigation system. I had to reset my navigation system. Think of this ritual like resetting the navigation system for the week ahead. Airplanes constantly correct their course for flying. Leadership works that same way. So once per week, you're going to step back and you're going to ask yourself, where should my time actually go next week? Where should it be? Guess what? Last week, I asked myself, where should my time go next week? And I actually last week very openly and transparently had this conversation even with the podcast production team. Like, I don't know if I can prioritize the time for me to do all these solo episodes. I'm doing a lot of content. Where's the value? Blah, 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 blah. And I challenged myself and I said, okay, you're going to make time for this. You're going to make time for this. So even when I took a break from the podcast a year plus ago, it was, I want to put my time into something else. It wasn't that I don't have the time. It was that I am choosing to prioritize my time differently. So last week I said, I'm going to prioritize my time. I'm going to batch record some stuff. I'm going to get that inspiration. I'm going to get going. And so this is what my 5 steps looks like. First of all, review the past week. What did I do? Where was my time? What did my time look like? Then I decided to reconnect. What are the leadership priorities? What matters? What's meaningful? What's meaningful to me? What's meaningful to my team? What's meaningful to everyone? One of the things I recognized was that my team said, hey, Brandon, we want to help more people. We want to serve those that don't know we're out there. And we know your voice resonates with it. So I was like, okay, if I can teach something, then I can help someone. And sometimes when I teach someone, they recognize that they need help beyond just learning. They need help with the doingness. So guess what? By me teaching, I'm able to connect you. And if you need help doing, that's why you reach out. Brandon, we need help with this. Can you do this for us? Well, let me let you know what we can and can't do. The next thing, once I reconnected with leadership priorities, I recognized that I had to clean and restructure my calendar. I started to look at, Brandon, these are the things I can do, can't do. So what are the things in the past that I used to do that I'm not doing right now? I used to do a lot of one-to-one a la carte strategy sessions and coaching and consulting, got rid of it, blew it up. I said, I would rather give 100 hours of my time for free to the people that are utilizing my resources than the people that are stealing my resources. Exchange is everything. My mistake was I used to give and give and give and give and give. And people out there would take it and they would see it as I'm going to take and take and take. Ask me how many times they gave it. They gave it forward. Not enough. So part of this is exchange. And I recognize, Brandon, you give, and then you stop and you halt. And you look at all those who gave, who you gave to, who did they give to? Clear and restructure my calendar. Next thing, how do I protect my strategic thinking time? So I have really important strategic thinking time, and I achieve it in many different ways. I achieve it through what brings me inspiration, and I achieve it through structured execution time. How do I executive function this? And then I design my week intentionally. So one thing that's really important for me in my calendar is at least 1 week out of the month, I will only allow 33% of my calendar booked. I'm going to say that again. One time a month, 33% of my calendar is booked. I allow 67% for what I call project time. So every week, I allow a certain amount of structured reserve time and a certain amount of unstructured time. One of the mistakes that I often see is that we allow too much structured time, or we replace unstructured time with structured stuff. And so one of the things I want to kind of throw out there is you have a manager and you're like, well, our manager needs to treat. Well, that's structured time. That structured time should be calculated and should never be forfeited. So there should never be a point where you're taking unstructured time and replacing structured time. So then you have to budget for how much unstructured time that role needs. Now, I'm not saying you need 67% unstructured time. I'm saying one time a month, that's my gift to myself. 67% unstructured time, one time a month, 1 week a month. The other 3 weeks, I typically will work off of 75 to 90% structured time. Now, once I do that, when I'm reviewing this past week, this is what it looks like. First and foremost, I begin with a reflection. I ask myself, what actually moved my business forward this week? What meetings produced real outcomes? What delivery did I do? What activities drained time without meaning? Many owners discover the most when they look at problem solving where time went. So I talk about this in my group coaching program. I believe the deficit of management today is a lack of decision making. So I recently asked my HR director in front of one of my private practice group coaching programs, I said, hey, Scott, what is the percentage of decisions you make that you feel you require my input on? And he's like, well, I probably engage 5% because I just value your feedback and I need another opinion, and another 5% that I require your decision-making power. And I said, I would guess it's actually under 5%. And he's like, okay, maybe. Now everyone's like, so you give up 95% of decision power to HR? And I go, yes, because I've created context and structure for those decisions to be made. So as long as there's context and structure, why do I need that to take brain space from me? Every single employee in your company should have decision power. Every single one. Your scheduler should have context to make scheduling decisions. Your biller should be able to make decisions. So what I believe the deficit to time, or the thing that takes away the most time, is decision making. Analysis, paralysis by analysis is what we call it. Give context, make that decision. Do people make the wrong decision sometimes? Yeah, and so do I. That's how we learn from it, and we recalibrate our context and our scope and our structure for how decisions get made when wrong decisions are made. So many owners, again, discover they spend the most of their week solving operational problems. That's not leadership. That's survival mode. So I don't have to, even though I'm the chief problem solver, the reality is the majority of chief problem solving that I do is on a paid basis, not an internal basis. What does that mean? That means you private practice owners pay me to solve your problems. I have team members in my organization that solve our problems. I lead them so that they get to make those decisions. So create a simple weekly reflection document. I want you to capture really quickly your wins, your bottlenecks, your leadership opportunities. And I promise you that over time, your patterns will become visible. We do not learn from experience. We learn from reflecting on experience. Again, I'm going to say that one more time. We do not learn from experience. We learn from reflecting on experience. John Dewey said that. So as we're reconnecting to our leadership priorities, before you adjust your calendar, recalibrate, reconnect to the most important priorities of your practice. Ask yourself, what are the 3 most important leadership outcomes for the next 90 days? That outcome might be hiring a clinical director. That might be improving billing performance. That might be launching a new service. That might be strengthening team culture. That might be firing yourself from your executive director job, whatever that may be. 3 leadership outcomes for the next 90 days. Now, here's where the powerful question comes into play. Does my calendar reflect these priorities? Truly. So I need to hire a clinical director. I need to improve my billing performance. I need to launch a new service line. Does my calendar over the next 90 days reflect those 3 priorities? Or am I like having performance improvement plans and all those things? Is that my role? Is that my function? Is that a priority? Or do I have other people to do that? See, one of the things that I hate in private practice is that you justify that you can't afford to invest in others to complement your skills. But my viewpoint is when we invest in people, people bring revenue. If I have 50 employees that bring revenue, I can afford it. It's when you invest in people that don't bring it. So HR director, you can have 1 employee. If you hire an HR director, $150,000, but they hire 10 new therapists for you, they've just paid for themselves for the next year. Stop utilizing budget and money to stop growth and diversification of function. You can't do it all. Invest in resources, people, skills, and prioritize your leadership that creates the outcome you desire. Many owners will realize when they look at their calendars that they are dominated by tasks that someone else could handle. When you say, Brandon, how do you do what you do? I do what I do because of the people that I've hired that do what they need to do. I lead them and I hire the right people who love the leadership approach and take responsibility for the outcome we all want. So, you ready for this? 30, 30, 30-30 leadership structure. 30% of our leadership structure is team development. 30% is strategy and growth. 30% is operational oversight. 10% is flexible for unexpected issues. The 30-30 leadership mindset. Leadership's not about being busy. It's about being effective. That's how we create the change. And so as we're cleaning up and restructuring our calendar, I want you to open next week's calendar. I want you to look at every meeting and ask 3 questions. Are you ready for those 3 questions? 1, is this meeting necessary? Yesterday, I had a meeting that was unnecessary. And I asked myself, why did I have that meeting? And the reason why I justified that meeting was I was a relationship person. I said, well, I had that meeting because I'm a relationship person. And then I had to ask myself a hard question after I recognized, after 17 minutes in this meeting, we ended the meeting because it was a waste of time. And I said, was the meeting necessary? And no, the meeting was not necessary. Why did I have the meeting? Because I'm a relationship person. I want to develop relationships. But here is the question I forgot to ask myself. Do I want a relationship with that person? The answer is no. I don't. They want something from me, not for me. I often prioritize relationships, but I don't ask the question, is this relationship refueling? Is it fueling something for me in exchange for them? Or is it strictly from me for them? And I'm going to say that again. Is this relationship fueling something for me and for them? Or is it from me for them? This relationship meeting yesterday was 200% from me for them that they tried to package for me. And the minute it ended was when I recognized that what they wanted from me was for them and not for me. And they did not like that I didn't value what they valued for me because the number one benefit was them. So again, first question, is this meeting necessary? Second, am I the right person to attend? Did I need to attend that meeting yesterday? No. Third question, does this meeting have a defined outcome? So yesterday's meeting, the defined outcome was, the person didn't name it, but what it really was we want to trick you into giving us more business. Straight up. So it was like, we need to understand what you're seeing and what you need and what people need. And you have such a good pulse and we just love what you represent. And the 2 asks that I got was, what can we do to get more business from you? That was step 1. Is that for me? No, that's from me. And the second one was, would you consider being on a webinar for us? Is that for me or for them? For them. From me, for them. So something recently that happened to me that I appreciate, although it was an uncomfortable conversation, was I brought something to someone that was some constructive feedback. And I gave the constructive feedback. What was in it for me was I would want someone to bring this to me. But the person said to me straight up, what do you want from me? What do you want from me? And I said, nothing. I'm trying to give back. They didn't want what I had. They thought it was for me. It wasn't for me. It was from me for you. You don't value it? Fine. So as we look at those 3 things when you're looking at your calendar, again, is this meeting necessary? Am I the right person to attend? Does this meeting have a defined outcome? Those 3 things should be part of your meeting cleanup and restructure. Many meetings exist simply because they have always existed. I used to do a staff meeting every week. I now do a staff meeting 1 time a month, and sometimes I don't even do it that month. You're like, Brandon, how can you do that? How does your team feel connected? My team takes on the responsibility of being connected. I have 50 people that can stay connected. I don't have to connect everyone. Why does everything have to go through me? It doesn't. So I want you to convert some meetings into asynchronous updates, written reports, shorter stand-up meetings. Even removing one unnecessary meeting each week creates enormous space. So something Peter Drucker says that I think you have to recognize is that what gets measured gets managed. How are you measuring your calendar? How are you outcoming it? And again, I come back to this idea of I want you to protect your strategic thinking time. I recognize that the high-level leaders guard thinking time. Without protected time, strategy disappears and the practice drifts away. Schedule at least 2 blocks each week dedicated to strategic leadership. That can be Monday morning planning block, Friday reflection block. These are non-negotiable appointments with the future of the practice. Now, I do this daily. So typically, I will block 6 a.m. till 8 a.m., sometimes 9 a.m., where it is strategic time. So I break it up into basically email follow-up is an action of strategic, like what are the emails strategically? Then I go into what do I need to create for tomorrow? Then I go into what do I need to create for the next 90 days? And I do this on a daily basis to make sure I'm updating and recalibrating. So many successful healthcare CEOs schedule a reoccurring CEO hour where they literally step away and think about growth, culture, and long-term direction. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever thought that sometimes your CEO time, your structured time, it needs to occur simultaneously with something that just rejuvenates you? Maybe it's one time a month you get a massage where you're like, that's my strategic CEO time. I'm going to just disconnect. I'm going to walk away from that massage, and then I'm going to ask myself, what are 3 things that I want to change today as a result of stepping away from this belief, from this moment, from this, call it traffic, because we are faced with traffic every day. The future belongs to those who prepare for it today. Malcolm X said that, and I love that. So we're going to design our week intentionally. We're going to shape it up. We're going to structure our days around energy and leadership planning, team meetings, strategic projects, external partnerships, reflection, and planning. Approaching prevents random fragmentation of attention. And so as we structure that, whether it be structured, unstructured time or structured activity, it helps us get more juice from the squeeze. And so use theme days to create consistency. Knowing when your team understands the rhythm of each week, decision-making can become greater across the board. Setting a timeline of when decisions need to be made, because success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. Robert Collier said that, and it's something that I really think is so crucial. So as I look at this whole idea of reclaiming time, reclaiming the role of leadership, distributing decisions to others, I want you to understand that private practice ownership requires more than just clinical and operational expertise. It requires disciplined leadership. The calendar is one of the most powerful leadership tools you possess. If your calendar is controlling you, your practice will remain stuck in management mode. But when you intentionally reset your calendar, each week you have an opportunity to reclaim the role of a leader. And leadership is what will allow private practices to grow, innovate, and ultimately serve more patients. Decision-making is managing an action. Leadership is leading and creating structure for others to manage what needs to get managed. Until we manage time, we can manage nothing else. Peter Drucker. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Private Practice Survival Guide podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Seigel. As a reminder, we do fractional HR, we do medical billing, we put on conferences, we put on group coaching. But truly, if you want access to me, the number one way to get CEO Brandon in your pocket is through our revenue cycle management medical billing services, because everyone that taps into that program gets me as a fractional COO CEO. So I care. Don't forget to like us, subscribe, share us with other private practice owners, because together we can thrive, not just survive. Thank you for tuning in to the Private Practice Survival Guide podcast. I'm incredibly grateful to each and every one of you. Exciting news. We're now available everywhere, from Spotify to Apple Podcasts to YouTube, or anywhere you like to listen to your podcasts. So watch, listen, and reach out. If you love this episode, please drop a 5-star review. It truly means the world to me. Are you looking for more ways to elevate your practice? If so, now is your chance. Reach out, go to my website, or email me at brandon@wellnessworksmp.com. And remember, it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving.